It's a song called 6-8 by a wonderful band called Paisley Mess. And it's a big, big privilege to have back on the programme, an integral part of the programme, Jeff Bosley. Welcome back.
Good evening, afternoon, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing very well indeed. Now it's, regular listeners are very familiar with your story, but I suppose as we're getting new listeners every week, we should recap and then we'll talk about what you're doing now. So just see if you can give us
here's a side note. I think I want to start, getting to a point in my career where I have enough money to actually fly there like weekly and just be your co-host or
absolutely
your crazy sidekick or something.
Yeah, no, I could put my feet up there and I could just select the records or something, make it easy.
Exactly.
None of this talk.
The short of it, the short of it for the new ears is I grew up playing pretend. This is a story I've never told, but I know you'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
I was the kid. I took parachutes from my GI Joes and I tied those around my neck like a noose, basically, and used those as capes. And that was just a prediction on the future of my life. I was obsessed with Rambo. My mom and dad totally placated that, and ironically, I ignored that urge to be Rambo or a guy jumping out of a plane for a while, and I went to college, and then for a while and did that, and then finally I did the real Rambo thing and became an Army Special Forces Green Beret here in the United States, quite parallel to your the U.S. or Australia's SAS service.
Yeah.
And did that for a while, and that took its toll on my life and my body in a positive way. I mean, as much as it can. And then I went off and I was a firefighter for a hot minute. And then finally, through various circumstances, I was in my late 30s. I was raised very practically and pragmatic. And I had a fleeting moment of, what the crap, let's do this. And I sold everything I owned and chased the Hollywood dream. And I was a theater major in college before I joined the Army, so it's no surprise that this has been in my blood for a while. And I finally dropped it, did it, and I've been out here working, sometimes spin, sometimes stick, out in Los Angeles for the last 5-ish years or so, I think. I think the first time you and I spoke, I was actually just traveling to LA to just look for a side job.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the short version.
Yeah, it's very good. Well, just before we move on to some of the points I want to bring up, just say, in that 5 years, just to really tell some of our listeners some of the wonderful things you've been part of.
Well, recently, kind of working backwards, I was just in that new movie. It won an Oscar. I asked if I would get an Oscar because I was in it. Like if the whole cast got an Oscar, if the whole movie got one. But I come to find out, no. Apparently, you have to contribute to the performance. But I was in Vice with Christian Bale, and that's my most recent one. And I spent 2 weeks shooting, and the lovely thing of Hollywood is probably about 2 minutes stayed on screen. And then I've been on the TV show here in the U.S. called SEAL Team a handful of times, and then I shot a movie in Korea, and that one was crazy crazy exercise of proportionality, where I spent almost 4.5 to 5 months shooting in Korea, and it was edited down to I'll be lucky if it was 60 seconds of footage. So, but you still get paid whether you're on the movie or not. So, and then the one that Craig's always obsessed over is this. I wish this made me as famous as it does to you. But, my big role, and this actually marks several monuments in my career where we have to get our union card to perform in union movies, which most projects here in the States are union. This is actually the film I got my union card on. You have to qualify. And so not only did I get to spend, a scene in bed with Uma Thurman and Maggie Q in my underwear, which is the part Craig seems to like. I don't know. I think I can like it. I like it okay too. But I also got my union. I also got my union card out of it. So I got business and pleasure.
Yeah.
And I was just telling this story the other day. Actually, as a matter of fact, I don't know if I ever told you one of the coolest things Ms. Thurman said to me. And no disrespect to any of her male actors in her career, but she looked me dead in the eye. It was very weird, just in between takes, and she goes, "You're the first actor in my career that makes me feel like a woman." And I was just like, "Yeah, right, I do."
Brilliant.
And I joked and I said, "Now remember that next time you need a man to make you feel like a woman in a role, because she's very tall, and so it was helpful that I was tall and she could feel feminine and wear heels and." She must have lost my phone number, but I'm sure she's been trying to call me ever since.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So, no, well, now last time we were talking, and the first of my notes I've got in front of me here is about the Bosley for Reacher.
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
If you have or have not seen it, there's two Jack Reacher movies that kind of popularized a book written by a Lee Child, who is of English Scottish background, I believe. I just brain farted. He actually just got the Queen's CBE award, which is the Commander's Order of the British Empire. It's an award given out by the Queen for people that have done their work has contributed in positive ways. He just got that award, I think, about 4 days ago.
Yes, indeed. Queen's birthday,
Yeah. Yes. So he's an author there. His name's Lee Child. He's written 20-plus books, all I'm pretty sure are bestsellers. And if you're not a book reader, they became movies. And so if you don't know the books and you saw the movies, you saw two Tom Cruise movies that were, no disrespect to Mr. Cruise, they were essentially Tom Cruise movies.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you're a book fan of the books and saw the movies, you were, and I was a fan before any of the Hollywood world I lived in. I loved the books. But if you're a fan prior to seeing the movies of the books, you would have been massively soul-crushed because the character, it's an integral part of the books. The author writes the character to be, I mean, his physique is part of his adventure. It's part of the plot. Mm-hmm. It's part of everything that happens in the book. The character is 6.5 feet tall. Tom Cruise is not 6.5 feet tall. So the book fans lost their minds. And it didn't go the way Mr. Child wanted it to. He thought that would go past it. And, I don't know what happened behind closed doors when it came to contracts, but at the end of the day, fans weren't too happy. After the two movies, the rights went back to Mr. Child for the rights to, making some sort of TV show or film. And the way Hollywood works is the reason you always only see named people in movies is because it's a guaranteed box office. A studio that puts up millions of dollars would rather have Tom Cruise and tick off book audiences, but they're still going to make a profit. Even a Tom Cruise flop is still a Tom Cruise profit, ironically. Mm-hmm. But the unprecedented thing and I say this as a non-whimsical child in Hollywood. I say this as a jaded, old, 41-year-old man. It's an unprecedented time in this movie or this TV show now, where the Lee Child, the author, actively wants an unknown actor for the TV series he's developing based on the books. And I saw a thing on that in November, and I just went crazy. I did professionally crazy, but crazy. I've since met with him in New York twice. I spoke on a panel with him about what I would bring to the character of Jack Reacher. There's now fan pages. There's a company that makes T-shirts and hats that say Bosley for Reacher. There's a trending hashtag campaign, Bosley for Reacher. The change.org, there's a petition now. It's gone crazy, and I'm actually going to see him again in July. He has a band that he plays with, kind of on a side job or side gig, and I'm going to see him, and tons of fans are actually flying into America and throughout the States, and some are coming in from Sweden to meet with me in Philadelphia at one of his shows, and so it has traction, and every box is checked as far as I should be the next Jack Reacher. I mean, but it's Hollywood. You never know.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. That's the event I've been reading about. That's on the 27th of July at the World Cafe in Philadelphia.
That's the one. Yeah, that's where Mr. Child and his band is called Naked Blue. The band it's kind of music that's inspired by the adventures and the attitude of the fictional character Jack Reacher. Wow. So he and his band. Yeah, it's kind of cool, and it has kind of the character in the books he's kind of a nomad, kind of a loner, hard worker. Obviously,
yeah.
He busts some skulls here and there, but the music is very bluesy and has a good kind of vibe to it. And so they're performing there, and before or after the show, I'll see. I mean, I there's a group of them. I feel like I have a what do you call them? Band. What are the people that follow bands around the country?
Groupies? Groupies?
Groupie, yeah. I feel like I have groupies. They're all going to be wearing their T-shirts and their hats, and they're going to meet and watch the show. And it's at the World Cafe. It's called the World Cafe Live in Philadelphia.
Brilliant.
So it's surreal. And if I joke, but I put a lot. I keep saying I put a lot of eggs in the Jack Reacher basket. And if this doesn't go well, you might not hear from me for like 8 months. I'm going to rent a cabin and just sit in the cabin crying and sucking my thumb.
Oh well, I'm sure it will go wonderfully well, and it's going to be a big evening on the 27th.
Oh yeah, that'll go great. That
Definitely.
I'm sure of. Yeah, so it'll be. I mean, and the theory is, the assumption on my part is that when this show gets done, it'll be up on Netflix, and then that's all she wrote, and then I can fly a private plane and see you in the studio one day.
Definitely, we look forward to that. But I think after the show in Philadelphia, if you get some pictures, we'll share them on our channel radio various outlets.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I know.
I'm sure there'll be pictures for sure.
Definitely. Now we also know that you've noticed you've signed with a new agency.
I have, yeah. That's the I don't want to say crappy part of the business, but just like any business, you got to work your way up and do all that business stuff. And I signed with a new agency just last week. They're Maverick. They're kind of in the U.S. There's like I think there's 5 giant ones, and they're the ones that have like Tom Cruise and Stallone and the huge names. So let's say they're the A team or the first squad, if you will.
Yeah.
I'd say this agency, and then I don't mean I would assume they would agree. They're like maybe the B team.
Yeah.
So if you're a small name in a giant agency, you're going to get lost in the names. So this is a good place to be. So it's like I'm a little bigger fish in a little smaller pond, but I'm my pond's gotten a little bigger, but I've grown too, or I've mutated, if you will. So and that's just a necessary evil in the business is to work your way up those things.
So what auditions have they set you up with?
They've got me some good ones. There's a TV show here. Well, I'm sure it's international too, but it's called Mayans. Mm-hmm. It's a spin-off of the Sons of Anarchy show that was on FX a couple of years ago, and the joke is it's based on it's a Latino motorcycle gang, and so as a result, the casting has flipped. When it was Sons of Anarchy, it was a bunch of Caucasian dudes on motorcycles with an occasional non-Caucasian guy. Yep. Now the roles have flipped, where now it's very rarely do they have an audition or a role for a white dude, and they finally had a role for a white dude, and I auditioned for it, and I've yet to hear, but it was a giant role. It was ironically, the role was a former Green Beret, so I just kind of went in and I was like, I just phoned it in. And I got actually a role on Westworld. It's a TV show with Thandie Newton and Sir Anthony Hopkins. And here's the irony with the Jack Reacher world is being tall in this industry kind of is bad, because if you take a picture of a short friend and a tall friend with a still camera, that space above the short friend looks goofy. Mm-hmm. It looks weird. Yeah. So that's a bad issue, and a lot of times when you're making films is because that looks wrong, unless that's the thing, like Rocky and Drago or something. But if it's not supposed to be that, it looks kind of crappy. And I was actually in the scene with Thandie Newton. I believe Mr. Anthony Hopkins was going to be making his way in, and we were choreographing the scene, and they actually recast me on the spot because I was too tall. But I was in Westworld for, I was on set for a while. And so, but that just proves why the Jack Reacher thing is such an anomaly, because he has to be tall, and this is one of the few times it has to be that way. And then I auditioned to do for a scene in Star Trek opposite of another Sir. Isn't Jean-Luc Picard? Isn't he? Isn't that actor Sir? Hasn't he been knighted?
I think he has. I'm pretty sure he has.
That's 2 nights I almost did scenes with. So good company to be around.
Absolutely. And also I noticed you're we were talking about Uma, but Lady Gaga as well.
Yeah. So I just turned 41 in May, and so now I'm having that bucket list, that thing where you suddenly are supposed to check things off your bucket list, and singing terrifies me. And one of my best friends, her and I were that movie with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, Star is Born. There's a song they sing in a duet, and they sang it at the Grammys, and they've sung it all over various late night shows. And the way they sing it together, I don't know how Bradley Cooper's wife doesn't question what's going on, because they are in love with each other. That song, you're like, wow, that makes me jealous. But I saw that, and I was like, I want to sing that just to see what happens. And I have a great friend. She's actually a professional musician, and we're going to do a cover of that song. And it scares the crap out of me. But we've got a producer that's going to rewrite it for us. And basically, since I have no I can sing. I've done musicals, but every musical I did, the poor orchestra had to. For those of you who know music, which I kind of don't, you sing, there's accompaniment music, and your notes are your notes, and their notes are their notes. They match each other, but they're not the same note. When I was in the musicals, they actually had to rewrite. They actually had to have a certain person, whether it's on piano or another instrument, play my specific notes so I could hear it. Because I can't hear, I'll lose my note if I'm supposed to melodize with another note. So we're like rewriting this whole cover song, and I'm going to have one ear playing my notes in my ear so I can actually hear my notes and sing right. Because if I can sing, I could karaoke like a son of a gun. But you tell me to sing without music, I'm in trouble. So we're doing that, and I mean, there's no real intent on that other than like a scary bucket list thing to do. It's just scare me, and we're going to produce it and release it, and who knows? Maybe I'll be a musician, and maybe my whole career acting just went in the toilet.
We can do both. You can do both. I'll have to send it over, and we'll put it on the airwaves and get all the.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Indeed.
It's this giant musician.
Yeah,
covered in tattoos and angry.
Oh, brilliant. Now,
yeah, so
that sounds like things are. They always are busy, but they sound very busy at the moment and a little bit diverse.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, it's the longer this goes on, the more. Like when I first got here, I was taking student film roles and independent films and anything and everything. But sooner or later, it's kind of like, if you're a physician, you work your way out of the residency, and sooner or later have to start practicing practicing your trade, and you don't do as much stuff on the orbiting it. And that's kind of where I'm at now. Is I still love my career and my craft and everything. So, but I got to be you kind of got to narrow that focus and put those horse blinders on a little, and really and so that's kind of outside of the Reacher thing to a fault. Maybe some friends and family would argue that's all I'm obsessing with is just, I'd rather do this one thing very well and that's just how I am as a person, is I laser focus on something to a fault, but if someone has a chance, and so yeah, there's a lot going, but I'm putting 100% into just like one thing really, and everything else, as long as I remember to feed my dog, it's pretty much the bare minimum at the end of the day. I'm just like, dog fed, all right, dog fed, and I worked on Jack Reacher today, we'll call it a day.
Brilliant. Well, it's an absolute pleasure talking to you as always, and
as always,
great luck with Jack Reacher. It's going to be fantastic. Thank and enjoy yourselves in Philadelphia on the 27th of
I will. I'm ecstatic, and a lot of the fans are from UK. So there's actually T-shirts floating around your side of the woods I've seen. So somebody bought some shirts, and they're roaming around the countryside. So
brilliant.
Where don't hit them with your car.
Definitely. Where can we get the T-shirts? Where can listeners get the T-shirt?
Oh yeah, easily. It's Merica, not America. So MERICA, MericaSupply.com. And just if you look for Bosley, there's Bosley for Reacher T-shirts. I'll take this as a pat on the back. Tons of women have bought them because there's tons of good colors.
Good.
Yeah.
And of course the petition as well. They can sign the petition.
Is just it's like change. It's on change.org. Like I was lucky, and I pretty much coined the phrase Bosley for Reacher everywhere. So it's very findable on anything, whether it's the petition or the T-shirts or Bosley for Reacher is it. So yeah, it's change.org, and then it's like if you just go to their search, you can find Bosley for Reacher is the name of the petition. I mean, I don't have any pipe dreams like a change.org petition is going to get me a role that a studio is going to be like, oh yeah, we'll cast him because a petition said so. But it just kind of gives weight to the fans' argument of saying to have the fans. Like, this isn't my friends and family. This is book fans that are supporting this. And so that just kind of shows, hey, we're rallying up behind this poor kid from Idaho. Let's give him a break.
Definitely. Well, we'll certainly have you back on at the end of the year, because we always do.
Awesome.
We wouldn't be at Christmas without you. Thanks again.
Exactly.
Thanks again for coming on the program.
As always, thank you for having me. It starts my day really good and gives me a little bit of motivation for the next 6 months. I've
just had Uma text in, and she said this next record's for you. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. Will you tell her hi? And I've been trying to get her to call me. I appreciate it.
I will do. Definitely. Thanks again, Jeff.
Take care, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much indeed. And this is Carole King coming up right now. Requested by Uma for Jeff.
Looking out on the morning rain, used to feel